2.
Hello and welcome to Kogod Coffee Chat. I'm your host Jane, and today I'm joined with the lovely Emma Joost and Elizabeth Riekse. Thank you guys so much for being here today. How you doing?
Amazing. Doing well.
Good. All right, so today we're talking about your startup, WasteWise, which you launched in support of AU's Business Incubator program. But before we get into all that, let's do a taste test of the coffee of the month. All right, so we have the brown sugar latte. Yeah. All right, cheers. Yum. Delicious. I took a big sip.
You took a big sip. She loves coffee.
I love coffee. Yum.
That was pretty good.
Was it good? Okay, give me your honest rating.
I think it's really delicious as someone who likes coffee.
I don't taste the brown sugar though.
Oh, is that maybe the brown sugar is the friends you made along the way?
Oh, okay.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah, it's not there.
All right. So before we get into everything, do you guys mind introducing yourself, like your major, what brought you into this program, and a little bit about the app?
Yeah. Okay, I'm not Kogod, so I can go first. My name's Elizabeth. I am a senior at American University. I am an SIS major, but I'm a double minor in dance and environmental science. And I joined this program kind of via Emma because we were friends, and this whole journey started at a pitch competition at Penn State. And I recruited Emma as a business major because we needed one. And I said, Emma, come join me in my food waste case competition. And that's how it all started.
Yeah, so pretty cool origin story. But I'm Emma. I'm also a senior at American. I'm an accounting major, so something a little bit different. So I kind of understand the numbers and, the balance sheets and things like that. And I'm originally from Florida, so coming to DC was definitely a leap of faith for me, but I'm really happy, and I've met some pretty awesome people along the way, and yeah, I'm really excited for WasteWise and for this interview.
Yes, I'm so excited. I'm going to Florida next week, so I'm really excited. Need your Rex later. All right, so to hop right in. So when you toured AU, you remember hearing about the incubator and thinking, oh, well, that program seems really cool. What stuck with you then, and how does it feel like a full circle moment now?
Yeah, so definitely full circle, first of all. I remember walking past Kogod and then being like, this is the incubator program. And I grew up, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the show Shark Tank, but it's like a very entrepreneurial show. I watched it with my mom like every night, every Monday. I got to stay up like past 8 p.m., so it was a big deal. And so when I toured, AU and I heard about it, something inside of me kind of was just like burning. Like, I'm like, I have to be in there. Like, I got to just do something. And I didn't know that like it would take 4 years later. I mean, here we are with someone who's not a business major. So I think that just shows the incubator program really just kind of allows anyone. You don't have to be a Kogod student. And that's something that's really cool.
Yeah, no, I think it's really awesome that Kogod like provides that opportunity to anybody with an entrepreneurship.
Yeah, so I actually had no idea that Veloric existed. I didn't even think I was gonna end up in anywhere in the business sphere. I came in looking to do international relations. That's why I picked AU, because it's in DC and that's where all of that stuff happens here. So I actually fell into Kogod adjacent world through, there used to be a program called Kogod in Practice, and they did kind of business management and consulting projects. And so I did a nonprofit consulting project with a gender-based violence nonprofit in Kitengela, Kenya. And so was my first little taste of Kogod. And then after that, I was like, oh, like that's cool. This school is really interdisciplinary. And I was able to once again join back in once we had an idea for an entrepreneurship elements to pitch after a case competition. So we ended up, Emma was like, wait, guys, let's do the Veloric Entrepreneurship Incubator. That's the next step. And I said, wait, I didn't know that existed. That's so cool. Let's do it. And yeah, then we did.
That is so awesome. I'm so glad like you got that opportunities here. That's so amazing. We have a few myths written down, and I would love if you guys could debunk them because, one, I don't know anything about your startup, and I want to know more. So the first myth is incubator is our only for business major. Is that true?
Wow. False. So false. Yes. As I just said, I am not related to business in either my majors or my minors. There's a lot of really cool different entrepreneurship people in the incubator that are from master's degrees in SIS, Kogod, SPA, all over the spectrum. So that is false.
Yeah, and also our first meeting with the incubator program, I think the newest set or like the newest members were actually freshmen, like first semester freshmen. So they're super like welcoming. You don't have to have like revenue set up, like we're pre-revenue. So they're super inviting. And for anyone who's like thinking about joining the incubator program, like don't be scared if you're not a business student, because everyone is super welcoming, and you know, later down the road you might utilize those connections or networks down the line, so don't be scared is like our best advice too.
Hey, that's awesome. And can you take me back to kind of the origin story of WasteWise? How did a sustainability pitch lead to this app, and what happened at Penn State?
Yeah, so amazing things happened at Penn State. It originally started when I kept getting this case competition application emailed to me. Like 4 different people sent it to me, and it was the Penn State Smeal Business School, and they were hosting a sustainability pitch competition for business solutions for food waste. And after the 3rd person sent it to me, the first 2 times I ignored it, and then the 3rd person sent it to me, and I was like, okay, fine, it's a sign. And so I started recruiting my friends that I knew were into sustainability, environmental science, and then I looked at the requirements, and it said, needs a business major. And I went, oh my gosh, we have to find a business major so fast. And so I went, oh, wait, I have a business major. And so I reached out to Emma. We had to do this whole application process. She was the most enthusiastic member of our team. She hopped right in, ready to join during like the middle of some crazy accounting exam.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was probably like the worst semester. So I was like, guys, like I hate to do this, but give me the lines you want me to say and I'll hop in. And it worked out obviously like really well. But
Yes,
continue.
so we were shocked. We just submitted it thinking nothing would come of it. We were like, this could be fun, it could be great. Let's just try, because I keep getting emails and I need them to stop emailing me. So we sent in our application, which was like a pitch deck, recorded that all, submitted it to Smeal, and then we actually were finalists. And so we got this email in our inbox the next week, 2 weeks later, that was like, hey, Smeal is actually paying for you to come to Penn State and compete as a finalist. And they paid for a hotel. They put us up there. They were like, it is on Halloween, though.
Yeah.
Halloween?
Yeah, Halloween weekend.
It was November 1st was the competition date. So Emma so graciously joined us and even drove us to
For what was like 3.5 hours.
3.5 hours to Penn State.
Hopped in my minivan, Infinity.
It was amazing. We had so much fun. We all really bonded as a cohort of our like pitch team. We practiced our pitch in the hotel. We saw all the fun Halloween costumes, and the next day at 8 a.m., we pitched to their panel of sustainability experts, and we ended up taking 3rd place, which was huge.
Before we went on, I remember we were all like, guys, this is just for fun, like good vibes. If anything we're gonna do, we're gonna bring good energy. And when the judges gave us feedback, I remember like one of the first things they're like, you guys brought the energy. So
we
paid off.
did our pitch. We went to like the final reveal, and it was like big numbers of money. So the top 3 prizes was it $2,000, $1,000, $2,000, and $5,000. We got $2,000 being in 3rd place. So we were like, we're not gonna get money, but we are happy to be here. We're just like,
That is so sick. You guys just started with an idea and now you're creating this whole business.
yes. So then after that, we came back. I texted everyone in the group chat. I was like, hey guys, I'm bored. Who wants to actually make this a real thing? And everyone was like, oh my gosh, that's such a great idea for you. And I said, awesome. But except for Emma texted me back and was like, let's do it. Let's make a run for it. I've actually heard of this program called the Veloric Incubator.
Yes. And then we reached out to Professor Vogel and Professor White, who are like both in charge of it. And then eventually we got a meeting set up with Vogel, and she was like, yeah, you guys should, clean up your pitch deck, whatever, but we invite you to come be a finalist to pitch the incubator program. And we did that, I want to say late August, early September. And we had a lot of feedback and a lot of work, but we persevered. And, here we are now in the incubator program. And since we've been in the incubator program, one of the big events that we went to was the DC startup. And that's where I feel like we got to interact with a lot of like consumers or potential consumers and kind of see how people reacted. So that was really big for us, I would say.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. I definitely want to circle back to the feedback aspect because that is really important when starting a business, of course. I heard that you got the feedback that you started with receipt scanning and that kind of didn't work out. Kind of what did you learn from that experience?
Oh, we learned so quickly that it was really funny because we had this initial round of like hyper success that we weren't expecting by winning third place in the competition. And we were like, oh, this is awesome. Let's do it. And so we pitched for the first time our pitch deck that had won us money at Penn State to Professor Vogel. And she goes, oh, yeah, no, that's not going to work. And I went, oh, it isn't. Turns out what we didn't know was Professor Vogel has a wealth of information and knowledge and resources actually about the grocery store industry as a whole. She used to own a sustainable grocery store in DC. And so she told us really quickly that was not going to work. And we said, great, amazing. We are so glad to have access to this information by someone who knows the industry. And we pivoted. So we said, oh, okay, back to the drawing board. We regrouped in just a couple of weeks before we had to pitch to the entrepreneurship incubator in September. So that was in the summer. She was like, that app integration isn't going to work. And we said, okay, back to the drawing board. We met up over the summer. We're doing Zoom calls and everything, and found a new system we were going to use.
Yeah, that's really amazing. I feel like at Kogod we talk a lot about sustainability and AI and how those can intersect. And what you're explaining about your app, it definitely, oh, the lights went out. It definitely like creates that intersection. Can you walk me through a little bit more about the app, exactly like how it works, once it's all built out, like how will a user kind of use it?
Yeah, so kind of what Elizabeth said, you're going to pretty much scan the produce item, and it's either going to give you freshness reminder saying, this is fresh, or it's going to go bad in a couple of days. Or the third option is your produce, like she said, an apple. It's not fresh, but here are local compost sites that we can walk you and guide you to. So that's a really big thing because a lot of food is wasted in America, especially in households. So we can't necessarily prevent food being wasted, but we can guide consumers to better use that food that they would have rather just thrown away.
Adding a little bit more onto that, our app is not necessarily just to limit food waste. We're kind of pitching it as a produce life cycle management app. So how can we allocate each fiscal dollar you spend on your lettuce, on your avocados? How can we not waste that? How can we prevent waste at every cycle from the second you buy it in the grocery store all the way until it is spoiled food?
Hey, that is awesome because I know I have a lot of food in my fridge and I know it's bad or stuff I can still use. I would definitely use this app like day to day. And that kind of leads us into our next myth. A myth is that people waste food because they don't care. Is that the full truth?
No, definitely not.
No, but I think the other thing is people tend to forget that even the food is in their fridge, which is why a lot of food ends up in landfills, which is what, again, with the freshness reminders, we're trying to combat. Just one part of it.
Yeah. I'm totally an object permanence person. I have the object permanence of a toddler. And so I really resonate with the fact that if you don't see something, you might not remember it exists. So that was something we really focused on when we were doing our consumer research before, if we wanted to see if people would even use this app. We were like, what are reasons why you are wasting food? It might be like me, where I just don't see it and I forget, but we wanted to see if that's the general consensus or not. And we found that that is pretty true.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really excited for this app and kind of pivoting. You're talking about like people in DC area and how it impacts them. Looking ahead, what do you think success looks like in the DC area first, like starting in DC and trying to expand?
Yeah. Once we get our initial MVP out, there's going to be a couple different additions. We're going to start with a website that we have worked on coding and creating and publishing ourselves. Get that out into the hands of consumers, see how it can be more useful, how it can better suit those who really want to use our product. And then after that, we're going to invest in really integrating that website into a more iOS-friendly app that can go to a broader market in the DMV.
Yeah, and I just want to add on that. We're currently in the process of trying to find a software engineer or someone to build our app. So I think adding on to your question, success would... for us look like having a good relationship with someone who's going to build our app because you're trying to learn AI, but we've reached a point where we might need some external help, someone who knows a little bit more. So I think having our MVP out would be really huge for us.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to the pod. Any like software engineers out
Yeah.
there? You want to
Yeah,
work on
we're in
it?
contact with a few,
Hiring.
but we are hiring.
Can I ask, like, what AI are you using? Is it like a website? And like, yeah.
Yeah, so computer vision AI is kind of like, if you think of like an umbrella. So like if there's an umbrella of what is the AI baby, it's very complicated. There's two types generally. There's generative and then there's predictive AI. And so generative AI is what most people think of when they think of AI. They're like, oh, ChatGPT, I type in my question, it provides me answers after like scanning the internet. So there's that branch. And then there's also predictive AI. So in our case, like a really good example of this is like x-rays. So like if you feed it, say, 10,000 x-rays of ankles, you're trying to teach the program how to like predict when an ankle is broken, right? So you can feed into that healthy ankles, not healthy ankles, and then go all the way in. And eventually, once it's trained enough, it'll be able to correctly identify and predict when an image is like broken. You know what I mean? So we're using the predictive aspect, not the generative. And under that, it's our little umbrella of, once again, another umbrella. Umbrellas, lots of umbrellas. It's raining out. It's perfect.
It's raining.
It is. So we have that umbrella of predictive AI. We are using the computer vision AI. So that is the specific type of AI that where if you take a photo, it isolates the image from the background, so the coffee from the table and from us, and then it analyzes for certain characteristics. Yeah. So with that, we're going to train it. We have a data set of like healthy vegetables, medium vegetables, spoiled vegetables. And there's some existing programs right now that have that as well. And they're working on kind of visually being able to tell if things are spoiled or not spoiled.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
So exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to save a lot of food. And I definitely want to see, like, what is a dream with this app?
I think our true impact will be in the number of consumers that we are able to access.
Yeah, and I think adding on to that, something later down the line, once we've updated our app and things like that, is actually showing the user monetary value, like how much money, if they didn't use our app and they didn't, compost their food or they threw it away, how much money would they have actually saved? Because I think that's another way for people who aren't as passionate about sustainability as we are. How can we kind of urge those consumers to use our app? And I think a good way to do that is through showing them how much money they've saved through like monetary value. So that's definitely another big one down the line.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm really excited to see how this app grows. I'm sure once the funding happens and everything, it's just going to take off and help a lot of people. Something I always say is that I'm really bad at groceries. I feel like I shop wrong, things go bad really wrong. How would you like correct someone that says that?
I would say it's not your fault. It's definitely not your fault. It is kind of the system and the society we live in right now. We live in such a globalized world and such a large scale economy, right? That everything's in like economies of scale. Like they do say that on econ, but it really is true. You're not just gonna be able to go pick the orange from your tree. If you pick the orange from your tree, it'll last for like 3 weeks. But by the time you or I pick up an orange from the grocery store, it's been off the tree for probably 2 weeks. And it's very hard to track those supply chains. We were originally looking into supply chain tracking as possibly a way we could address food waste with SMEAL in Penn State's competition. And it is so hard. So it's not you, it's the system and just how we got to learn how to accommodate as for the individual and how to kind of pivot as individuals living in a very large commercialized society. Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but that was one of the major reasons the supply chain tracking that we couldn't do the recipe integration, I believe, right?
Yeah.
That was
So that's why receipts don't work. And so that's why we wanted to make a way to do it at more of the consumer behavioral adjustment level.
Definitely. And what's one produce example where your notifications would save the day?
Oh, for me, spinach. Any lettuce-based item. Normally, the more processed a good is, like, I always get the bagged salad, and it goes bad so quickly. One thing our app will do is when you scan in your photo, it will also give you lifespan recommendation techniques to lengthen the lifespan. So, hey, what if instead of having it in that plastic bag, you took it out of the bag and put it in a glass container with a paper towel? That might be more helpful.
I would
For
never know
herbs,
that.
some example of that is placing herbs, taking them out of the container, putting them into like a jar of water, stuff like that to help your food stay longer and stay good for longer.
Wow, that's really cool. Yeah,
Yeah, and I was just gonna add on to that. That's the whole thing with like grocery stores. They want you to come back and they want you to buy food. So you kind of
Marketing.
had right, exactly.
That's
It's
smart.
just the whole consumer culture. So that's the whole thing about like researching it on your own, like extension tips. So that's kind of another way that we also want to educate people, right? Because the grocery stores
Yeah.
aren't doing that.
Yeah.
We want to save you money.
Yeah.
Grocery stores
I mean,
are
thank
for-profit companies. Every element in the supply chain is for profit. And so this is just one step in which we can kind of help the consumer save money and, prevent, if you're investing your money in produce, that you actually get to use that instead of throwing cash away.
I was gonna pivot for a second back to our capstone class because we've been talking about the grocery store industry.
True. I was
And
thinking that.
the operating margin is what, 3%, which is crazy because you think about how many people buy groceries and like waste food.
And I was even gonna say, like, you all went abroad, right? Yes, I also went abroad in Madrid. And I would be like, I'd be like, oh, the tomatoes are so good here. But in like America, I never eat the tomatoes. So I feel like your app, like you're giving people ways, even if they don't live close to like where they're growing the food, it's gonna save them and hopefully save the taste a little bit, which would be great. Okay. So for our last little segment, we're doing a little lightning round of myths, and I'm gonna say something, and you're gonna let me know if it's true or false. I'm gonna do it speedy. All right. Food waste is a small problem.
False.
False. Okay. Tech can't change habits.
False.
False.
I would say false. I'll agree with you.
You say
I would
false?
say
Okay,
false.
okay. If you're not a coder, you can't build.
Also false.
Yeah.
Literally. Sustainability tools are only for sustainability people.
False.
False. Okay. You guys answered that so well. Is there any final notes you want to add? Anything else you want to talk about your apps? It's been so exciting.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having us. We are really excited to see what we can do in helping manage produce lifespans, enter the consumer household level, and hopefully we will have a MVP out for you soon. So when we send it to you, please use our app because we're gonna make you test it for us.
And follow for updates on our LinkedIn, which is WasteWise.
WasteWise. Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here. This was so exciting.
Yeah, thank
and
you.
yeah, that's our first edition of Kogod Coffee Chat. So with Elizabeth and Emma. Yay!
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.